this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today with a card that was nearly a very different card because I plan to create my wedding invitations myself. I'm getting married in August, and obviously as a craft maker it is my honour and probably my responsibility to create my own wedding cards, and I was looking for one that is easy to make because I have to make multiples, around 40, but I wanted it to be a bit of a showstopper or something different from ordinary invitations. So my first idea was to create an explosion card, and I'm going to link to Sam Calcott's video below. And I cut all my cardstock, I cut all my pattern cardstock, and I folded the first 3 of these cards to make an explosion box. And I realized, first of all, although my cardstock is the same thickness as the one that Sam Calcott uses, it created quite a bit of bulk, and some of my invitations have to go to Germany from the UK, and postage isn't cheap, so I dismissed this idea. And I spent almost a whole week thinking about what to do with the panels I had already cut. I cut my cardstock 10 by 7 to make gatefold cards, and I had cut the pattern cardstock, the panels, this is 10 by 5. So I was stuck with all these panels. I'd cut loads of my pattern cardstock, anything I had really that was sort of pinkish, or this was actually a bit purplish, and yeah, didn't know what to do. So today I went onto the internet, went onto Google, and just looked through quick and simple cards, and I scrolled through all the pictures, and I stuck with one, and I thought, oh, this looks really nice. And then I realised it was one of Sam Calcott's cards, which is the 3-panel card, I think she calls it, but I have reduced it a bit even more. It's one of the cards she made with her nan, but she created it from 2 sets of 5 by 7 cards, because she puts one, let me just show you, or I can't show you because I've already folded mine to gatefold, but she basically has 2 pieces of cardstock that she puts together in the middle, and then her 3-panel card folds out open a bit differently. But I was thinking again about weight of the card. I mean, the 3-panel card she creates is really, really lovely. So I reduced the cardstock here and came up with something similar. Has got a similar effect to it, it just folds open differently. So all it is, it's a gatefold card. By the way, I used some hammered cardstock because I thought it would be really nice for the wedding invitations. So you cut the main cardstock to 7 by 10, and then you create the gatefold by scoring at 2.5 and 7.5. A little tip though, I don't know whether anything is wrong with my scoreboard. Whenever I do that, it never closes neatly, it overlaps. Even this one's a bit out, whether I cut it wrong or whatever. I find it easier for me to cut it at 2.5 and then just turn it round and cut it at 2.5 again. I find I get a more even result with those. I also want to show you where I'll put my scoreboard. Oh, there it is. Just popped it on the floor behind me. When I do some multiple scoring, and as I said, I need about 40 of these, so about 80, not 80 score lines. And I don't want to stop thinking at one point. I want to do it automatically. I like to mark on my scoreboard where I'm scoring, so I don't have to look at the number every single time. And this is just a piece of cardstock, one that was left from the pattern paper. Just cut it into an arrow, glued it down with some low-tack sellotape, and then when I line this up, I don't have to think. I just go where that bit is, and I just can score it there. I find that makes it so much easier. Pop that out of the way again. So what you then need, let me just get my note here with all the measurements, and let me just zoom in on that. So as I said, you need the 10 by 7 piece, and you score at 2.5 and 7.5, or by 2, turn it round. Sorry, about 2.5, turn it round and do 2.5. Then you need 3 panels of the plain cardstock, and I use the hammered cardstock again, and they have to be 5 by 2¼ And I worked out, if you got A4 sheets, which is the best way to cut these so you don't have too much waste. So because the A4 cardstock is 8¼ by 11¾ if you cut the 5 inches first, and then you can cut that into 2¼ panels. There might be something left, I can't remember now. And then you take the leftover piece, cut that to 2¼ in width, so you've got that bit left over, and then you can just cut 2 more panels 5 inches long, and then you've got a bit left over there. I found that was less waste than if you start doing it, cutting it 2¼ that way, and then cut it down and find you've got all the little pieces left. So that's the best way to do it. And then you need 3 pieces of pattern paper or pattern cardstock, and I could just reuse the panels I had already cut, because they have to be 2 inches by 4¾ so I just cut mine down. So if you have got a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and this is, as I said, this is for multiple production of this card, the best way to do is just cut 4¾ that way down, another 4¾ panel, which leaves you with a panel here that is, oh, I can't even work it out of my head, something over 2 inches, so you can use that for another project. And then you start cutting it by the 2 inches, because if you do 2 inches first, you've got lots of little pieces that are wasted. And then for the inside, you need 1 piece that is 4¾ by 6¾ I will print mine off on the computer with my whole wedding invitation, and then I will cut it to size. So I'm not showing you that today. So because I want to mass produce it, my topper for the front, again, I have just done that on the computer. First of all, I don't have a stamp for invitation, and I thought I'd rather print this off. It saves me from having to stamp 40 times. And also I decided for a plain shape, I'll show you in a moment what I've done. If I didn't have to produce this 40 times, I would have chosen a nice die like this. I really like this one, or even a heart-shaped one. But as I'm producing so many of these cards, I decided to go against that and just cut this one out. So I just want to show you the finished result, and then I'll quickly talk you through how I have created this. So this is all it is. It's a card that folds close like this. So I have just cut this out with my guillotine, my small guillotine, and then I just have used my corner rounder to just clip the corners off, and I think that makes it quite neat actually for the front. So it's very simple to put together, and I can do this even on a quiet bar shift if I'm not busy, and I'm just using my quick rep glue because this doesn't smell. So if you've got somewhere, you know, where you can do a whole session of doing this, it'll be so much easier. So what you do is you can decide whether you want to adhere the pattern paper first on these panels, so you need 3. I did make sure that the pattern is the same on the edge here. I didn't want to, see the way they're cut, I didn't want to have a piece that sort of looks different. You see the difference there, got the pattern there, so I'll make sure that they sort of all go together, and I've got loads of them now. So what all you need to do, don't even have to do it to show you, is you put glue on half of it and stick it down at the top. Do the same at the bottom, half of down there, half there, and with the third panel, when these 2 are in place, you put glue on this side and just stick it down here in the middle, leaving a tiny gap in between these, and then you just adhere the patterned cardstock. By the way, mine, because I tried to rescue some cardstock, my other half has just ordered some more. Some of this hammered cardstock is going in a different direction, but I think once the pattern cardstock has been adhered, it doesn't really matter. So that's all there is to it. So really simple card, but I think it's quite effective, different from other cards. And so the recipient just opens it like this, and then I will have the written invitation on the inside. Very simple. Yeah, I was thinking about whether I need to sort of close it here, but then again, other cards pop open when you take them out of the envelope, so I think that would be fine as it is. Because I could maybe put a hook and loop on this side, just because it does want to pop open a bit, but maybe once it's been in the post, it's been flattened enough. So make sure you score and burnish the folds of the gatefold card here properly, because that'll keep it from popping up too much. But yeah, quick and simple card that I can hopefully produce 40 odd times, maybe in the next week. Try to keep it simple. This is why I didn't want to have any embellishments either. You could obviously, if you just wanted to create one or two of these, embellish them heavily, but I want to keep it as light and as, what's the other word, thin, you know, flat for the postage. I don't want any embellishments, no beads, anything, to keep it really nice and cheap for the postage, because it is rather expensive to go to Germany. So yeah, if you like this idea, you might want to give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I post videos 2 to 3 times a week, and I'll see you again soon with the next video.